Alright, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Python tutorial. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a simple GUI application that's going to help you send emails to different recipients, or for now just one recipient, and all that using just a Tkinter GUI application. So I hope you're excited, and without further ado, let's begin. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new text file and then rename it to main email, and then change the extension to .py because it's a Python file and we're going to be coding in Python. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and open this in idle. Go ahead and use your favorite text editor, if it's PyCharm or any other ones like Visual Studio Code, up to you. So in this tutorial, we're going to be needing modules to create the graphics and also to deal with the emails. So for everything that's to do with graphics, we're going to be using the Tkinter module. So I'm going to do from Tkinter import star, which is going to help us import all the required module information from Tkinter and help us deal with the graphics. And we're also going to do import SMTPlib. This is going to be helping us deal with the sending of emails and all that. So once we're done with that, what we want to do is initialize our main screen. So I'm going to do main screen, just a little comment for us. And then here we're going to do master equals tk. What this does is, if I run this now, it's going to give us a little pop-up window which creates a little screen for us called and initializes it to the variable called master. Now I'm going to give this a title because it's just good practice. Master.title custom Python email app. Right. So once we're done with that, what we want to do is go ahead and actually start creating some of the graphics. So I want to put a label on the screen as a header to signify what the app is. So I'm going to do a section for graphics here. So I'm going to put a little comment, and then I'm going to do label, and I need to tell where I want to put the label. So I'm going to be placing the label on master, and then I'm going to use text equals to custom email app. That's going to be the text that's going to be shown using my label, and a label is nothing more than something that lets us put some text to the screen. I'm also going to be setting up a font for my email, so font equals, let's go with Calibri. Feel free to use any other one, and you can also specify the font size. I'm going to go with, let me see what I've got going here. I'm going to go with 15 since it's a header. Now I'm going to use two close brackets because we need to follow the syntax, and I'm going to use a .pack to put it in the middle of the screen. Pack is just a placement of the screen. So now if I run this, we have a little Tkinter window that says custom email app. Great, we've got something going on right now. Now, just for good practice, we should never be using labels as they are. We should declare them into a variable and then be packing them separately. So what do I mean by that? Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to be giving this label an actual variable name. So let's give it, let's see. We could give it a variable name, or if you want to, you could also carry on doing it like this. It's up to you, but if you want to follow good practice and all that, you should give it a name such as, I would say something like title label equals, and the label and whatever's on there, and then cut the dot pack. You can do something like title label dot pack. Some of you may argue, hey, it's longer to do it this way. Some of you may say, hey, it helps me organize my code, but this is totally up to you. So just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using the normal way of using dot pack without the variable name. Also, I'm going to be introducing you to something known as the grid. So grid helps us manage the positioning of our elements for our GUI a lot easier than using .pack or .place, which we've discussed previously. So let me show you what .grid can do. So you do .grid instead of .pack, and then you can specify the actual row which you want to place this label in, which I'm going to go with 0 for now because this is the first thing on my app. And then I'm going to say sticky equals north. What this does is it puts it in the center of my screen and at the very top of my screen. So if I run this now, you will see that my custom email app, obviously it doesn't have much going on, but it's in the center and it's on the very top of the screen. So that's that for now. Let's go ahead and add some more labels. I'm going to add another label. And then just to make it look nice, I'm going to add another label, give it text of, let's say, use the form below to send an email. Right, and then we're going to do same again, font equals Calibri, comma, let's do the capital C just in case we might get an error. And then I'm going to do a font size of 11. And then I'm going to dot grid again because, hey, good practice. Row equals 1 because we want to be on the next row. And then sticky equals west. So W stands for west. We want it to be positioned towards the west. And then we're also going to give it some padding. So padding is just some space for it. So padding X, oops. So pad X, which stands for padding X, equals 5. Because I want it positioned a bit towards the right from the left. I don't want it to touch the very corner, so I'm giving it some padding. Let's run it now, and if you see right here, it comes nice in the middle, and it's got a little padding on the left so it doesn't touch the very corner. Right, cool. So we've got a little header, we've got a little text right here, we've got a nice little title that says what we want to do. Now, the important bit that I sometimes forget is to add a main loop to it. So we need to do something like master.main_loop, and you need to do this. You might notice that when you press F5, it doesn't make any difference, but hey, when you're accessing this application by double clicking on it and not through the actual editor, you'll have issues if you don't add this line. It's just going to exit real quick, it won't stay in a loop. So that's what that line does, and make sure to add it in at the very end. So let's move on now. We've got our 2 labels done. Now what we want to do is move on and create the different fields that we're going to be needing from the user. So I'm going to create a label. Actually, just to save time, let's copy and paste. I'm going to copy and paste this label right here. We're leaving some space because these are like the fields, and the labels are going to specify what field it is, so what text field it is. Obviously on master again, the first field I'm going to gather is going to be called email. Font's going to be the same, as well as the font size the same, but as you may have already guessed, the row will change to 2 because we want to go next row, and the padding X will stay the same, as well as the sticky to the west. Now I'm going to run this quickly just to show you what it looks like. And hey, we have a little text saying email, and under that we're going to have a text box in a minute. So I'm going to quickly finish off doing all the labels for all the fields that we're going to have by copying and pasting. So the next one is going to be password. Let's call it password. Let's run it again to check if that worked. Okay, you have noticed that it has worked, but we need to change this to 3. There we go. And then we need to do the same for the rest of the fields too. So what I'm going to be doing is copying and pasting these for the rest of the fields. So let me just copy and paste these real quick. Let me see. So we have the user's email, so your email, your password. Then we also need to have the 2. So this is going to be the email, the person's email, the person you're sending it to, their email. That's what you're going to be needing to enter there. You're also going to be needing subject, a body for the email. You'll be typing in body right here. So that's going to be the actual body of your email. And then finally we need to have another one right here. But we're not going to be showing any text in here. So this last label right here is going to be blank. You don't need to show any text in there. And the sticky for it is going to be south, because we want it to be right in the middle. Right, so we've got that covered, and we need to make sure that our rows are being changed. So row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, and row 7. Okay, perfect. Now we also want to run this just to check. Everything's looking good. So we have email, password 2, subject, and body. Perfect. Now we also need to add the entries for that, which we'll be doing right now. So we're going to go ahead and do our entry fields. So this right here is going to be a notification field. So for example, when the user's email has been sent successfully, we'll be using this later to show some text saying, hey, user email sent successfully or failed, whatever that is the case. So we're going to do notif equals, and let's leave it to that for now. I'll explain what that does in a bit. So let's go ahead and do the entries now. So before we actually do the entries, we're going to have to create a few variables that are going to act as a storage for our entries. So storage, and now we need to do a few temporary variables. So temp username equals string var, and we need to do the exact same for pretty much all the fields. So these are going to be assigned to the entries so that they can temporarily store the information until it's actually pulled out when the button's clicked. So username, then we have temp username, temp password, temp receiver, temp let's see, we have subject, and we need to have finally the body. So body, and let's get rid of this extra one that we just had because I was copying and pasting. Get rid of that. Now we need to go on to the entries. Let's type in entries right here just so we know what we're doing, and now let's go ahead and create our first entry. Now bear in mind, each of your entries need to be assigned to a variable and then placed, otherwise you have an error. So username entry equals entry, specify where you want to place it, which is on the master, the main screen. Then we have something called a text variable, which is a temporary form of information holder, where we assign the text variable to a variable that we've done over here, so that it can store the information in there. So text variable is going to be equals to temp username, of course, because that's where we're storing it for now. And then that's about it. We're going to have to place it then. So username entry dot, as I said, we're going to be using grid, and then we do row equals 2, comma, column equals 0. Now, if you've noticed, what I've done here is row 2 already has a label called email, and then if I assign the same over here, saying row 2 and then column 0, if you see, it's going to be placed right next to my email field nicely. So that's kind of the effect I want to achieve here. So that's looking good, and we're going to do the same for the rest as well. So if I copy, let's paste it. So if you've noticed, there's a lot of copying and pasting going on because it's pretty easy and simple graphics that we're creating, so we might as well copy and paste while we can. So password entry, change the text variable to temp password, and then the row to 3, and change that to password. Oops. Quickly run it to see if it's working. Okay, it does work, but it's eaten up a bit of the password thingy. So what we're gonna have to do is possibly give it a bit of padding on the X. So comma, add X equals, let's say 5. Not sure if there's going to be enough, but let's look at what it looks like. It's still the same. Let's try and do 10. Still the same. Okay, never mind. Let's get rid of that. And let's see what we can do. We're going to come back to this in a moment. So before we come back to that, we're going to do the rest of the fields. So copy, paste. Next one is going to be the receiver entry. So receiver entry equals entry, text variable equals temp receiver. And then we change this little thing to receiver. And then we change the row to 4. Now if I quickly run this, if you notice, we have the email password working fine, we have the 2 working fine. We're gonna have to fix this in a moment, which will be done quickly. Let's see, now we need to go ahead and do the subject. So subject entry equals entry. Oh, why am I doing it manually? Anyway, since I've started doing it manually, might as well finish it. Equals temp subject, and then subject entry dot grid equals 5, comma column equals 0. Alright, run that. Worked fine. Cool. And then now, last but not the least, we have the body field where we're going to be entering the actual body for our email. So let's go ahead and type it in. So subject body, and then I'm going to change this quickly as well. Subject body row 6, and change this to body as well. You guys are probably kind of getting used to this kind of syntax right now that we're working with, so it's going to be quite easy for you to actually copy and paste these and implement them with your own ideas, so that's not too bad for now. Let's see what we're going to be doing next. Is we are actually going to be creating buttons that are going to be carrying out our actions. So we need a button to actually fire off the email, right? And to clear the form, just in case you want to do a fresh email to someone else and you wanted to clear all the fields. So that's going to be the 2 buttons and the 2 functions, kind of the main functions that we're going to have here. So what we need to do is, first off, I'm going to type in a little hashtag buttons, make a comment so that we know what we're doing. Button goes on master because we want to place it there. Text equals send, and then command equals send, because we're going to be creating a new function called send in a bit. So grid row equals 7, comma sticky equals west, and then padding y equals 15, while padding x equals 5. We're just following the standards that we've created for ourselves here in terms of styling. Quickly gonna copy and paste this because I cannot be asked to type it all up again. We're gonna have to change this to reset actually. Oops, reset. The command is going to be to reset, because of course we're going to be resetting. Bear in mind, if you name these differently, your function names would have to be different as well. We're going to have to keep the row the same, sticky the same. Padding is going to be 45. And padding X is going to be 45 as well. Let's run this. Oops. What's wrong? What was it saying? Invalid syntax. Oh, extra bracket, my bad. What is not defined? Name sent, okay. Cool, so it's giving us this error because right now the functions we have given them are not defined. So let's quickly go ahead after main screen and create a functions. So functions. One of them is going to be called send print sent. It's just a dummy function for now, just so that we can actually test it. Other one's going to be called reset print. Oh, oops, what's wrong with my typing today? Reset. So run this, and we have 2 buttons, and when we click on them, one of them says send and the other one says reset. Kind of have a nice little GUI going now, and only issue right now is this thing right here, which we're going to sort out in a bit. So before we carry on, let me just quickly check the variable name conventions I've got going here, and then we'll carry on with programming the actual buttons. Right, so just before we carry on, actually, we need to also when we have a password that we're dealing with in the graphic, what we need to do is we need to censor this. So we can't be showing this information to the user because it's kind of confidential information, so we can't really be showing that. So what we're going to have to be doing is go to your password entry, and then next to master do comma show equals asterisks, and then it's going to show asterisk for whatever you typed in there. So that's kind of secure, I guess. Not too secure, but hey, secure enough. So I'm going to close that for now. Variable equals temp password. And now coming back to the fixing of this, because it's really bugging me, what I'm going to do is move the labels to the left a bit. Instead of having pad x5, I'm going to have it pad x a bit less, I guess. So what I'm going to do is let's see if it actually works. It's 2. Not enough. 1. And, let's get rid of it completely. Right, it's still not. Let's try something else. I'm gonna go to my actual entry and try pushing it forward if I can. So where is the entry? Here it is, and then comma x equals 10. Okay, for some reason it doesn't really want to do what I'm saying to it, so I'll leave it to you guys as like a little challenge. I'm pretty sure I can figure it out at the end of this, but I don't want to waste your time, so you guys can figure that out as like a little challenge or like a little incentive to you guys. So try and figure out how to the text fold to how to actually push it a bit more forward so that you can see what's going on. Right, so what we're going to be doing next is, as I said, we're going to be coding the functions. So to code the functions in this, we're going to do reset first because that's the easier one. Let's get rid of print reset, and then we're actually going to be adding the code we need. So the code we need is pretty simple. We're going to be doing something like username entry dot delete 0, end lowercase. What that's going to be doing is going to be going from the 0th position to the end and then clearing the whole text field. So if I run this, see I had some text in there, and when I click reset, all of it disappears. We've got to do the same for all the entry fields that we have, and this is exactly why I said we need to name all our entry fields so that we can get them later and then kind of erase them step by step. So let's get rid of username, type in password in there. Then let's go ahead and do the receiver, and then the subject, and lastly the body. Run it. Let's put some random text in there and reset. Okay, what's wrong? Body entry is not defined, right? What is it actually called then? Such a silly mistake. So I called it subject body. So I'm going to do body. This is one of the disadvantages of copying, I guess. You kind of like go with the flow and not worrying about stuff all the time. But hey, it's not a hard one to fix. Let's try that again. Reset. Perfect. So our reset function is working. Now let's deal with the important one, the send function. Let's go ahead and get rid of this dummy little thing right here. Now what we need to do first is use a try and catch statement, which is so the try and catch statement we're going to be using because if anything goes wrong while trying to send the email, the try and catch email is not going to crash your program, but it's going to do something that you want, which is show up like a little label that says, hey, an error happened or password didn't match or something like that, instead of just crashing on the user. And then when it's successful, it's going to say email sent. So we're going to do try, and what we're going to be trying is we're going to get the username. We're pretty much going to be getting all the information we've stored in the temp variable. So username equals temp username.get, password equals temp password.get, 2 equals temp receiver dot get subject equals temp subject dot get, and last but not the least, body equals temp body dot get. Quickly gonna now we also need to do a little validation trick where if any of the fields are left empty, we notify the user saying, hey, all of these fields are actually required, you can't just leave them blank. So if username equals double equals blank, we're gonna get rid of the space right here so we can save space because it's going to be a long if statement. If username equals blank or password equals blank or 2 equals blank, can't help leaving spaces, or subject equals blank or body equals blank, then what we want to do is, remember earlier we've created a little label right here called notif where we didn't add any text to it. That's what we're going to be using. So we're going to be using notif, so we'll do notif.config, so we're configuring it now, and then in the configuration we're going to do text equals all fields required, because hey, we require all of the fields, we can't leave them empty. And then we're going to set up the foreground to be red. It's kind of like a little error. And then there and there we're just going to return. Cool. So now else we are, if pretty much all the fields are filled in and there's no problems, we're going to go ahead and actually send the email. So else we are going to do final message equals. Now in here it's going to get a bit tricky because what we want to do is we need to kind of format it so that it's in the format that emails can read and they know what the subject of the email is. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and copy these lines from something I already have created. You can do the same because I'm going to link the source code for you guys. I'm going to copy this line right here, copy, and close that off. Now final message equals, let me just quickly explain what happens. Oh, that's weird, it didn't copy. Just quickly copy this. I guess I need to leave the compiler open until I've pasted it. That's a bit crap. But anyway, so final message equals subject, and then you've got a little bit of code over here that's going to help Gmail or whatever email you're sending it to actually recognize that this is the subject that you're sending, and then we use .format to format the subject that we've got up here as an actual readable subject, and then the body that we've got going up here as an actual readable body, so that it's separated. So that's going to be stored in the final message that's actually going to be sent, because on the SMTP-lib you can only really send one thing. You can't send the subject first, then 2 for next, and then the body next. It doesn't work like that. We just got to send it all together. So what we need to do is we create a variable called server, which is where we're going to be storing our server address. Then in there we do smtplib.smtp, which is where we're initializing the server pretty much, or the module, and then we need to specify the address for our email service. So smtp.gmail.com, because I'm using Gmail. Close that speech marks, and then the ports which we're going to be using. I'm using 587, so I'm going to go with that. And then server.start.tls, open close brackets. That basically starts like a little secure secure shell, which is kind of like a requirement from Google's, or pretty much any email service that you want to log into. You need to start that first before you can actually log in, otherwise you get an error. So once we've started that, we've got a nice little secure shell going, and then server.login, we need to give it the credentials, which is going to be the username, which we've stored already, and the password that we've stored already up here. Username, password, we're going to give it right there. So far pretty simple. And finally server.sendMail, which is where we send the email, and then we need to do when we're sending the email, we need to specify our username, then the person we're sending the email to, which is to, and then your final message, which is going to be right here. That's going to be the combination of the subject and the body, which is pretty much the email, the combined email that we need to send. Now lastly, we need to do a little notification.config. Once again, that's the label that we created earlier. Hey, I've spotted a bug. That needs to be an equals. That might have been annoying for you guys to see. Equals text equals email has been sent, and then we're gonna do foreground equals green. Nice, because we want it to be like a success message. And then last but not the least, we need the accept criteria, because remember I said we're using a try and catch, but it's a try and accept. So when all of this code is going to be run first. If there's any errors, it's going to go ahead and say it's going to go ahead into this accept statement right here and run the code here instead of giving out the error and just ruining the whole thing and crashing it. So if there's any error, it's going to go here and say notif.config where text equals error sending email, comma, foreground equals red, and then yeah, that's about it really. So before we do anything, what I want to tell you guys is that if you want this to work properly, you guys need to make sure that you've enabled low security app access to your Gmail account. So you can look up more about that on Google. It's pretty easy to do. Since this is a lower security app and we're not using a lot of secure stuff here, what we need to do is go into your Gmail account or Google Chrome and then type in, oh, why did I say Gmail? I mean Google Chrome. Type in the enable access for less secure apps Gmail, and then it's going to take you through pretty much how to do it in there. It's not hard, you just need to click on like a little button that says enable it, and then you're good to go. That pretty much will let you use the email to log in using your less secure application right here. So I'm going to finally run this to see if it works. Hopefully we don't have any errors. Let's go ahead and type in my email. I'm going to be using my old email. So if you guys try spamming me, that's not going to work because I don't use this email a lot. Let's try and do the password correctly. To my current email, where I receive all my inquiries and stuff. Make sure I spell that correctly. Okay, cool. Subject is, this is a test email. And then finally the body is going to be, this is some text for the body. Right, send. Okay, as expected we have an error. Non-type object has no attribute to config, line 27. So it does look like our email got sent through, but actually it didn't, because it says error sending email. So let's see what went wrong. Error sending email, notif.config, I'm pretty sure that was it. Notif. Email. Okay, it's given us pretty much the same error on here as well. Non-type object has no attribute to config. I'm gonna quickly open up the other one that I have coded just to see if I've done anything differently here, because I don't want to. This tutorial's already got quite long. Notif.config, notif.config. It's pretty similar. What could I've got wrong? Notif.config. Let's see. Aha, I see. So this is the issue here. So as what I was talking about good practices before. we cannot, when we're going to use config, we cannot really just do a .grid right here straight away. We need to recall the variable and then assign it to that, like this. So notif.grid instead of just assigning it straight away. So I've had that issue before, kind of forgot what was going on, so I'm going to run that again, and I'm pretty sure the email went through. I'm going to do that again for the sake of this tutorial. 12 not.com. Kind of forgot my own password there. Let's try again. Okay, cool. gmail.com. Subject is going to be another test email, and then body's going to be hopefully this works. Smiley face. Right, send. Perfect. The email has been sent. Let's go ahead and look in my email whether this email has actually landed or not. And without a doubt, it says this is another email sent by 12norfolk@gmail.com, and hopefully it works. So great guys, this tutorial has worked out just fine. Hope you guys have enjoyed the tutorial. My skills seem to be kind of rusty at the moment because I'm just coming back to YouTube again. I've missed it a lot, but I've been doing a lot of side stuff in the meanwhile, and I'll be trying to upload more consistently now. So if you guys have any other ideas or you want me to post anything new, make sure you go to the community tab of the channel and then mention it in there. Let me also show you that the other functions are working, such as if I get rid of the body and then click on send, it says all fields required, which was one of the other requirements that we had. If I try to, erase the password and then add some gibberish in here, send, it's gonna say error sending email. So whatever it does, we've made this app kind of crash proof, so even if it has errors, it's not gonna crash on us, it's just gonna tell us what the error is. And then finally, if I do resets, that works as well. So guys, that was it for today's tutorial. I'll be adding this code in the description so you can download it and do what you want to it. Also remember, as a challenge, to try and fix this right here. Once you've done it, you can comment saying, hey, I've fixed it, and you can also tell me how you've done it, so I can feel kind of like a proud dad, I guess. Dad jokes. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace out.